the rest of my shirt. Does it look good?
No. But it's still a look.
It's still a look.
Yeah.
But I'm showing off my sweet ass Sasquatch socks. It's got Bigfoot and it says, I believe in yourself. It's Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Katie, what are we doing here tonight?
Well, we're gonna have some real stories.
Yeah, right.
And then we're gonna do some improv based on them.
It's true.
Yeah.
And everybody in this show, essayists, improviser, has had their lives in some way influenced by depression or anxiety or
a loved
anything.
one or whatever. I'm sure everyone can say that.
Yeah, pretty much everybody in the world qualifies to do this show. There's no secret to it.
Yeah.
So let's just get it started.
Yeah.
And bring up our very first essayist, Johnathan Appel.
So this essay is called The Summer of Three Shitty Therapists. Have you ever wondered if parallel universes exist? When I was depressed, that's pretty much all I worry about. My mind feels disconnected from my body here, wondering about other Jonathans that make better decisions, the right decisions. Other Jonathans probably don't think about all the different decisions he should have made every day. He probably doesn't spend all night literally unable to close his eyes and shut off his thoughts of dying. And I bet he doesn't have darker moments when he can only listen to Firework by Katy Perry on repeat because it gives him a quiet solace. In the summer, I am a plastic bag, guys. In the summer after my junior year, I knew I was depressed again. I hadn't been for a while, but I could tell I was for a few reasons. I felt constantly tired. I couldn't focus in conversations. And one morning I just started screaming, and my roommate ran in and said, "What?" And I said, "Damn!" And he said, "What?" And I said, "Should I go to theater camp in 6th grade? Tell me!" And that was the reason I wanted to die. It's funny because it's true. I thought my depression was fixed after my sophomore year. A whole year before that summer, I had seen a therapist for 2 years, Darian, and he basically saved my life. He talked to me every week until it seemed like I was doing much better, and he said, "You're good, but you can come to me if you ever need me again." And I thought I was fine. But now I realized I thought I had failed him. But I was rapidly realizing I couldn't live like this for much longer. My mom called me one morning early in July and asked me how I was doing, and I said, "I'm starting to think that my summer living in New York was a mistake, that I can never recover from, and I don't know what to do." And she said, "Are you exercising? You looked bigger last time I saw you." And then 30 minutes later, and this is not an exaggeration, she called back to say she'd read an article about teen suicide and that I should see a therapist. So, thank you, Forbes. And she asked about Darian. I said he wasn't available, which was a lie. And she said she knew a good one in the city. So I went to see number 1. She seemed nice, she offered me tea, and she was this classic old lady. And so I started to talk about all the things I kept thinking about in a loop, about how I felt like I was constantly annoying all the people in my life, about how I've been able to shut down my emotions, and how I feel like I've lost the connection to some people because I'm not really me in public. Because I think that I'm just intruding on everybody else. And she said, "So you're socializing?" That's great. It's what young people do. Verbatim. And after a few sessions with number 1, I started talking about my mom. And I told her that my mom didn't understand what it felt like to be anxious, to which number 1 said, "I think she does." Like she was winking with her words. I told her about, at that point, our frequent fights about how I was feeling and how she couldn't deal with it, and she would sigh and add details that I definitely hadn't told her. And then I realized why my mom knew a good therapist in the city. I was seeing her on Mondays, and she was seeing her Wednesdays at 5, and I hated her. Yeah. At that time, I had an email sitting on my computer to Darian that just said, "I can't stop my brain from making me question everything, and I think I'm feeling suicidal again. Can I set up a phone call with you?" But I couldn't press send because I felt like a complete failure. So I started seeing number 2, after getting a recommendation from a real doctor. Number 2 was a nice older older Jewish man from the Upper East Side, and I'm a nice younger Jewish man from the Upper East Side. So it was perfect. During the first meeting, I walked into his office, and he asked me what my book was, and he showed an interest in me. So we sat down, and he asked me what I had come to talk to him about, and I told him, and he started talking. And then he kept talking. And then he kept talking. And then he kept talking. And he said, did any of that help? See you next week. And I went back to him a few more times because I was getting worse. And I told him I couldn't stop thinking about how I'd been rejected from the college improv group. And I thought I'd been passed over, not because of any abilities I had and I was terrible at improv, but because they knew they wouldn't like me just from seeing me. And he said, now hold on. Have you considered you're just not funny? And then he told me how much he loved the Colbert Report and said, did any of that help? That's our time. Finally, I saw number 3 for one whole session. And people at work at this point were convinced I was dying because I kept coming out to see some doctor and then another doctor. Because I was still seeing 1 and 2. And so number 3 decided to give me a test where he would rate how much I was identified with a feeling in a bunch of different areas, such as thoughts or lack of sleep on a scale of 1 to 5. And he looked at the results, snorted, and then said, well, we have a lot to work. Let's get to it. And I never saw him again. I finally went back to Amherst campus, and I thought about not seeing Darian. I was worried he wouldn't listen to me. I thought about that alternative universe. But I somehow got up the nerve to make an appointment with him, and he hugged me. And we sat down and told me how good I looked, and for a second I was willing to just say, yep, I do. And I am. I feel great. And Deloitte was not the right decision, but it was fine, and senior year is going to be awesome. But I just broke down. I told him everything about my job, about my obsessive thoughts, about my body literally convulsing every time I woke up because I was scared that I thought I had done everything wrong. And I told him that I felt broken. And he just looked at me and said, I understand. Depression isn't something you can just fix. It's something that you work through every day. Some days it's better, some days it's worse. But on those days it's worse, I'll be there. I am here. After a summer of no one listening to me or what I was going through, I was so tempted to just leave it and tell everybody I was fixed. But I don't really wonder if that's a parallel universe. Thank you.
Sweetie, I read an article, and it was about how if you wear your hair in a ponytail, you're more likely to get grabbed from the street. People are going to grab you, and they're going to take your things, and they're going to rape you. Do you wear your hair in a ponytail? Your father and I are very worried.
Please don't misunderstand. We love you. We support you. But men are terrible.
I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I just can't. I need to know what's going on. I know I'm younger, but I just need to know.
See the ponytail.
At some point in your later years, we're going to ask you if you wear a ponytail too.
And you best say no.
No.
Because we will disown you. Like, we made a backup daughter just in case. We can't do this again. That's a last-ditch resort. I mean, like, enjoy your dinner.
If something bad doesn't happen to you, your father and I are going to say that you're not our kid anymore. Okay? Does that scare you enough to not rebel against us? Because we're tired of it.
I took it out, okay? I took the ponytail out.
I don't know, because I'm worried about what's going to happen later when we're not there to talk.
Yeah, I know. She can just take another scrunchie and make another ponytail.
I haven't even seen her with a scrunchie.
No,
No, never. Not this week.
What if she's washing her face? Then you wear a scrunchie?
Nice.
I hold her hair back. I hold her back.
You're the best sister.
I hold her hair back.
Please don't bond so much.
What's going to happen? You know?
Listen, I'm gonna level with you kids. We're not experienced parents.
That's
So we
true.
set up
That's
fail
true.
safes.
We never practiced.
We never practice.
No, I didn't go to one of those high schools with an egg.
gentlemen, I am very sorry to disrupt your day. I do not steal, I do not lie, I'm not an addict, but I wanted to let you know that I did not go to musical theater camp in the 6th grade. And things have... Yes. I would try to sing you a song, but as I said, I did not go to musical theater camp in the 6th grade. If any of you could spare just a little something, a little change,
Oh, honey.
or perhaps some sheet music to Brigadoon, I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Really, man? No eye contact? I guess you just really enjoy musical theater camp. You probably went all the years before high school, and then you went to the Fame School, didn't you?
I'm reading the liner notes to Hamilton. Please just be.
Like salt in the wound.
Because I got to experience all the camps I wanted as a kid.
You know, I have half a playbill in my pocket. I ripped up half a playbill to put my gum in, but I can give you the other half. Want the other half of this playbill?
This is one of my lower moments, but yes, thank you. I hope you all have a very good day. And
You can make eye contact with me. I'm Lynn Miranda Manuel.
Miranda Manuel! Manuel Miranda's shame of another brother?
Yes. I heard your story from all the way across this F train. Lived a din of noise in the subway, and I just want to say if you need a place to stay and learn musical theater.
How about an audition? Right here, right now.
We can also call your brother.
Let's see my brother out of this. Yeah, an audition sounds great. A subway audition. But a New York moment.
Yes.
I'll hold your money.
Buddy, that's the song. What do I do?
Rap from the hood.
This is amazing.
Are you exercising?
Yeah.
You look like you're exercising.
Yeah.
Last time I saw you, you were so much smaller, but now you're like bigger and muscular.
Huge.
I like my women to have a little muscle on them. Thanks for doing that for me.
What's like drinking 19 power shakes a day?
Excuse me, sir? We asked you not to hang out at Kirk's.
Okay, I'll go.
Come on, Charlie. He's real nice. He
Have
makes everybody feel good after they work out.
You've been exercising the heck out of you, haven't you? You know, I like my ladies a little exercise.
What's up? What's up?
Hey, what's your name?
Kendall.
Hey, Kendall.
Kendall, you've been exercising too much, I think.
You can never exercise too much according to you, though, man.
Well, yeah, I did say that. I like my ladies to be exercising.
I'm legally obligated to tell you, yes, you can exercise too much. Overexertion. Please pay attention to your bodies and how it feels. Oh, God.
Sometimes when people take a lot of steroids, they feel like getting in fights. That's something to look out for.
I have been trying.
Yeah, the steroid thing's not really my deal. Not my deal. I like a little muscle and maybe someone who could knock me around a little. That could be fun.
Hey, remember when I was the center of attention?
You're right. You're 100% right. There are other versions of you out there.
I knew it. Did you see all these graphs I made with the pins connected to other pins?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah, I'm sorry for making you think that you were crazy, but they're out there. But you don't have to compare yourself to them.
No, yeah, I do. I gotta look at This fucking Brad from Earth 4, who's got his 401k in line already. I got fucking this Brad who was drafted to the Pistons. I got so many of the Brads I gotta worry about. This fucking Brad plays the oboe. I don't know what an oboe looks like.
That Brad is very, very close to you. Except the only difference is he knows how to play the oboe.
I want to go there. I want to go to all the Brads. I want to collect the Brads from all the other dimensions. And I want to hang out with all the Brads.
I knew that this might have been a possibility.
Okay. Oh, what's underneath that tarp? What's underneath that tarp?
I told you never to look under it.
I've been real good. I've been real good these 22 years. Because it looks like a barber's chair. It looks like an ordinary barber's chair, but there's like all sorts of lights on it. You know, a big freaking handle.
Yeah, I feel like my wife doesn't respect me. I mean, she just looks at me like I'm just not, oh, whatever. Anyway, it's your turn. So yeah, what's your deal?
I'm definitely starting to empathize with you a little bit there.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, fuck it. Okay, look. So she talks to me, and every once in a while, she calls me her ex-boyfriend's name. And we've been married for 20 years. Mm-hmm. I'm rounding up. We've been married for 18. But it just makes me feel small. Do you know what it's like when you feel like you're not even getting your attention, you're not getting your time?
I do.
Yeah. Fine. Speak on that, I guess.
Doctor, your next patient, Mrs. Walker, is here.
Oh, thank God, she's such a good listener.
Whitney Meers.
Hey everyone, this essay is called The Dead Rat. Watch out! My boyfriend shouts as I shuffle my feet across the sidewalk. I look down and see my foot narrowly missing a dead rat as I drag my feet on the concrete. The poor guy rests on his side, a lifeless gray lump with a hairless tail protruding from its rear. How do you think he died? I asked Brandon. Looks like he just croaked. He shrugs. I peer down and examine the rat and imagine suddenly how his life must have ended. He, in my mind, is a he, like the only rat I've ever admired, Splinter from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Scuttled to eat some trash before his heart gave, and then he collapsed on the sidewalk for me to almost step on. Rest in peace, buddy, I say as I continue walking. Unlike most people, I love being reminded of death. I know, I sound like some wannabe Wednesday Addams, and you're just waiting for me to bring out the Ouija board and do a seance so I can bring my dog back from the dead. But I assure you that's not what's happening here. I've spent a lot of my life thinking about death. Certainly I'm not alone in this. For a short time in life you feel invincible. Like this thing called death could never happen to you. If you had a family member who died, you're too young to remember it. The memory doesn't even exist. And for a short time, somewhere between kindergarten and adolescence, you understand your parents' tears over the loss of their friends and loved ones, but you don't quite yet have the capacity for empathy. You get that mom's sad, but instead of showing compassion, you wonder loudly why dinner's not ready when you get home from playing street hockey with your friends. And then one day it hits you. I was 11, and I got a call from my much older sister. She told me that she had something very important to tell my mom who wasn't home at the time. I relayed that message to my mom when she did get home, who shuffled me and my older brother, John, in her minivan and drove me to my sister's house. On our way there, I saw my friends playing on the street. "Mom, let me out so I can play with my friends," I said. "No," she barked at me. "If Julie says it's important, it's important." I was furious, as I still hadn't understood the gravity of the situation. When we arrived, I was surprised to see my sister crying. Julie was an adult, 14 years my senior. She never cried. After a brief chat with Julie, my mom returned to me and whispered, "Your grandmother passed away this morning." She was referring to my grandmother on my father's side, the one who volunteered at the senior center, the one who loved to paint watercolors and made the decision to quit smoking after I told her I saw a TV commercial that said that smoking puts a black spot on your heart. The kind of loving, fearless woman that I just assumed was going to live forever. And yet she was gone. After my grandmother's death, my grandfather's health quickly deteriorated as well. But again, I didn't quite grasp it. One night I asked if I could go to my youth group instead of seeing my grandfather in the hospital, as I'd done multiple nights in a row before. I was under the impression that he wasn't in great shape, but he still had plenty of time in him. In retrospect, my parents may have known what was going to happen, but thought maybe it was better if my brother and I weren't around. My grandfather died the next day. I knew I felt sad, but like my grandmother's death only months before, I knew this too would pass. My brother started school only weeks later, and as a chubby, nerdy kid, found himself suffering from severe panic attacks. We'd never really gotten along, so I didn't think much about it. We fought all the time, we hated each other. It was only years later, though, through extensive therapy, a battle with alcoholism, and a stint in jail, that my brother would realize his life shifted course the day he lost his grandfather, who he idolized. The problem was that none of us were ready. The problem that none of us were ready to face was a problem of genetics. By the time I was 15, I tried to commit suicide 3 times, twice in earnest. The first time I tried to jump out of a moving car, resulting in a 72-hour stint in an inpatient psychiatric treatment center. The second time I cut my wrist, which was worse because it made me realize I was getting way too close to being a goth kid. The third time was after a fight with my father. I walked into the bathroom, opened a bottle of pills, and drank them like water. I woke up hours later feeling horrible but not dead. I then ran away from home for a week, returning only after hearing my mom's sobs on the phone. I thought about death constantly. I envied people who had cancer. I realized that is batshit crazy, horrible, a terrible thing to say. But I envied them because they were so close to death, and even if they didn't die, they got tons of attention while they were sick. But this beast that you fight when you're depressed, this is the beast that you fight when you're depressed. Your tendency to sleep all day doesn't seem abnormal. Your overwhelming suicidal thoughts don't seem out of the ordinary because you no longer know what normal feels like. You take every pill your doctor gives you, but you feel no different. Your self-esteem tanks, and the worst people in the world you know take advantage of it, treating you like the piece of dirt you know you are. I don't know what it takes to break the cycle, and I may never know. Last year, after I got fired from my job, the ruminations began again. Why am I such a failure? I wish I were dead. I felt that way off and on for 22 years. But as much as the depression comes in waves, so too does the joy. I can feel the ache of depression for months, but then, like a ray of sunshine through the clouds, I can see a little beam of hope that keeps me moving forward. In this moment, when I think about death, I'm actually thinking about life. I'm thinking about all the people I've loved who've passed away suddenly, who've had so much more to share and give. I think about the fact that I don't have to waste my life away at a soul-sucking job, nor do I have to hang out with people I don't like, eat foods I think are gross, accept that abuse is something that all women should just learn to live with, or save dessert until after dinner. I may not always feel this way, but for this moment, I know there's some kind of beauty in taking the time to understand the finality that is death. Just like that rat, I could be a carcass on the sidewalk tomorrow, but so could you. Or you. And the only thing we take away from this is that you could be a dead rat tomorrow. I hope you choose to live a life that's worth living. And yes, death is gross and sad and terrible, but it also provides a pretty damn good reason to live as well. I'm a grown-ass adult. I'm gonna die one day. If nothing else, that means I'm gonna eat dessert whenever I damn well please.
Master Splinter, say something. Come on, Master Splinter, say something. Come on, Master Splinter, tell me not to eat pizza.
Saying radical's not a word.
Yeah. Come on, Master Splinter.
don't eat pizza. That was always your thing. But listen to me. Where's your brother?
Oh, well, there's Leonardo.
Donatello.
Here I am.
Mr. Raphael. I'm Michelangelo.
Right there. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit you.
It's
Please tell us not to
Beat
eat
you at the
pizza.
breakfast.
Or eat it, because we'd like you to eat it.
when I am gone from this world,
Which will never happen.
no, I am dying. Like today. I want you to look out for each other. I want you to be the family you have grown to be. Leo, lead them. Donatello.
Donnie.
All right, okay.
Hey, we're adolescents now.
Yeah. You're a
Hey,
teenage
sorry.
Ninja Turtles.
I'm so sorry. Donnie, support your family. Raphael, stay strong.
You guys see that fly right there? It just landed.
Focus.
I'm gonna have to fire you. I'm gonna have to fire you right now. And you know what? Don't sue us. Please don't come up with a lawsuit.
I was just this morning, I got down on my knees and I prayed that you would fire me because I hate this place. It's a soul-sucking job. Soul-sucking. Fire me!
This kind of response.
Most people don't mind having their souls sucked, but I do.
What are we gonna do instead?
It's none of your business. I didn't use the F word because I'm a gentleman.
That's true. I've always liked your ties.
They're very gentlemanly ties, indeed.
They are. I'm gonna miss your politeness around the office.
Just curious, why exactly are you fired?
That's a creepy laugh.
Why? Tell me why. I just want to know why.
Honestly?
No, I want you to lie. Yes, tell me the truth. I won and I want to know how.
Whenever I yell at you to change the header on your reports, you don't get upset. Makes me feel emasculated.
Yeah, that's my anti-soul sucking therapy I've had.
What would you do that?
I go to
Please
this.
refer me because
I go to this guy. He does all the talking, and I learn a lot.
Look, Jenny, I'm just your English teacher. It's really none of my business, but I couldn't help but notice you're almost goth. And it's cause for concern. Yeah, that's like a really dark lipstick, but it's not black. You're getting to goth. And I don't even really know what that gesture is. You're wearing Joy Division t-shirts, big black boots. But you also have like a flower on your lapel, which is so not goth. You're just getting. Is everything okay? No. What? You squirted that? That's like a 7th grade magic trick. You're really confusing me. I can't understand what you're going for.
is, she's not goth, she's a clown.
She's got black boots. She's got the big black boots with the buckles and shit. What kind of clown is that?
It's a pilgrim clown. She's in my class too.
Jesus.
She's like a trying to look like a fake clown, but she's
I read it all wrong.
You got any balloon animals? Reminds me of my childhood, but I also don't like it.
I call this Council of Brads meeting to order.
Council of Brads, let's do this!
Yes, we're at 17 Brad.
So many Brads. Lovable Brads. So many Brads. Hey Brad. Hey Brad. Hey Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Hey Brad. Hey Brad. Oh man, you throw a football so freaking far, Brad, of Earth 12-9.
Since this is Earth 17 Brad's first meeting with the Council of Brads, we have to give him a superlative. Decide which Brad he is. Is he
handsome Brad?
Well, no, that's handsome.
A lot of us think we're handsome here.
Yeah, and let's be honest, it's a really close call. Take it for passive aggressive Brad.
You really look nice today,
Still not as good as handsome Brad, but yeah.
Why don't you tell us something interesting about yourself to make it easier to make a decision?
Oh yeah.
Grease Brad is right.
About me that I love is I love making murals on my wall of charts of random conspiracies with pins attached to other pins.
Crazy Brad. God, look at the snap peas. The snap peas are starting to sprout.
Sprouting everywhere.
It's
like we planted them.
We did. And it's beautiful. They're just breaking the surface of the soil. Little green
Growing.
buds. You know. It's a sign of life. It's a sign of life, babe.
Yeah.
You kids get out of my yard.
Sorry, we got time. He's slow.
How long do you think it would be until we can harvest them and eat the fruits of our labor?
I don't care if you planted them in my yard. They're mine now. Get out.
Walter, they're in love. Walter, you stop it right now. Respect, Walter.
Helen, okay for a minute until they leave.
They used to have sex.
The operative word's being used to.
Oh, Helen, if I could reach you from here.
Keep it down.
These people have amazing hearing. Be alive once they sprout.
Yeah.
Dies,
That's true. That's true.
and he was real angry.
That's true. But it'll only be another 2 or 3 weeks before, you know.
So as long as he stay in the clear for 2-3 weeks, we're good.
Yeah. He's slow. We'll be gone by the time he gets out here.
Don't you plan on staying for 3 weeks? That's out of the question.
I'm sorry that you lost Splinter. All the other cartoons are here to pay our condolences. I'm 2 years old. I'm Tommy Pickles. I don't really I gotta say it, but I get that Rat isn't here anymore.
Yeah, Tommy, you gave the most eloquent speech at the funeral.
Thank you.
I appreciate you trying to use the screwdriver to open the coffin. Yeah, I know. You can't help that, Tommy.
Sorry.
want to explore. You want to explore. Master would love that.
Honestly, once the lid closed, I forgot what was in there. I told him about it.
Right, well, that was my best friend and teacher. But,
So, like, should we offer him pizza or not? Because, like, Master was very unclear on the hospitality versus pizza thing.
I think what the master would have wanted was to do pizza, but half cheese and half.
Oh, you could be the new master.
Say it!
And half pasta. He would have loved half cheese and half pasta slice.
You know all those Asian pasta eaters?
What was that? Was that a generalization? I'm just learning about that. Do all Asians like pasta?
Well, it's the perfect cross-section between Asian cuisine and Italian cuisine is the noodle.
The master was big into fusion cuisine.
And he was also raised in the sewers of New York.
Right.
And he was trying to accommodate our pizza.
He tried to get us on the Corona bandwagon, and we should have listened. We should have listened.
Didn't do the Corona bandwagon. We didn't do ketogenic diet. No. We didn't do paleo. No. We didn't do South Beach. No. We didn't do Atkins. No. What else?
Vegetables, we didn't do vegetables.
No, we never
Those
did
are all the
vegetables.
diets. Those are all the diets. I'm sorry. Hey guys, I'm sorry. I'm a Thundercat.
If your parents don't accept you for who you are, then you know you should try to become emancipated. You should, you know,
Do I have to get a lawyer for that?
Ponytails forever! I'm free!
I'm an emancipation lawyer.
Wow, they just fined you. Was
Sorry, was
that
at the wrong timing.
Was that a kid that you emancipated?
You
that
know
just
it.
ran by? That comes out of my salary. Another success story right there. See that? They look so happy.
They can be your happiness level, you know?
You mean I didn't have their happiness?
Exactly. I've done so many, you know, that I don't even need to speak anymore. That's how loaded I am from emancipating people just like you.
That's great that you're loaded, but what if I'm not?
If you stick with me, do you see how high they jump? You're gonna see some people jumping pretty freaking high. I'm gonna tell you that. You may or may not see it, but I'll see it. Alright?
I'm so sorry. Lene's my friend. I need to look out for her best interests.
You didn't call him?
No, I didn't call him. I did not call him.
You're at the spot. You're at the mall. You're at the food court. It's anybody's free game. I know where to find you guys. You know how many people I've emancipated? I can help you.
I'm happy with my mom and dad.
I don't know, you just keep talking about how rich you're gonna get.
You think I'm not on the up and up? You are.
I'm worried about me. I got parents that don't care about me, man.
Man, that freaking sucks. But if I don't get paid, then how can you just get what you need? You know what I mean? Exactly. So,
I don't know.
This is so big.
All right, so can we get the house lights up, please, Brad? Thank you. So we're gonna do something a little special right now. This is not a scene. Is there anybody in the audience that's kind of got something on their chest, or maybe has been having like a rough week or a rough day?
Wants to talk about it?
Yeah. Anybody at all? This is a safe space. Or if there's just like anything on your mind, or anything at all. If you have a thought.
Last time we did this, someone just like jumped out of their seat.
Yeah. They were really excited.
Yeah.
And none of you are that person.
We sort of expected that's what would happen.
Yeah, there's a hand. Yeah, there's a hand. Come on up. What's your name?
Jason.
Jason. Jason! Jason! Give it up for Jason! Jason, what's first of all, awesome shoes.
Thank you.
Second of all, what's on your mind, man? What's been going on?
This actually happened a little bit ago, but I was talking about it with someone today, so it was on my mind.
Yeah.
I am a child of divorce, and I have been negotiating the sort of internal conflict, between mom and dad for a little while, and it recently flared up in an interesting way over Thanksgiving.
Canadian Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
You did say recently. That's like next month.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Your confusion makes sense.
Yeah.
Over Thanksgiving planning, I should say.
Gotcha.
We're Americans, yes. So I have done the apolitical thing of alternating parents every year. Pretty safe, set solution. However, this year, a year ago, my brother and his wife had the first baby of the first grandchild of the family. It was very exciting. His name's Freddie. He's an adorable little kid. He's the bomb.
He's not here.
When I went and visited him a couple months ago, and he was just learning how to dance.
Okay, yeah,
He's just learned to walk, but before then he was just climbing up and using a table to stand up, and we would put on funk music, and he would just lock and unlock his Amazing. So everyone wants to hang out with Freddie, and my dad scheduled to go to Minneapolis to be with my brother, hang out with Freddie on Thanksgiving, and then another sibling jumped on, and then another sibling jumped on, and I, this year, in my apolitical solution, am supposed to be with Dad on Thanksgiving. However, we just sort of teamed up, and it was no one's going to Mom, everyone's going to be with the brother, with Dad in Minneapolis. So, this was tricky. My mom wrote to me and said, Jason, I'm also vegan. Vegan is a big part of my life. And my mom wrote to me and said, Jason, I would love for you to come to California for Thanksgiving, and we can have a vegan Thanksgiving. Oh. So it was something, she wanted to see me and knew that everyone was going to be hanging out. And for a little more backstory, my mom is a superhero of our family, and three of my older siblings are from their previous marriages, and my mom just did all this amazing work to make sure that we knew we weren't just half siblings and we were siblings. She's the most giving, amazing person, and doesn't get enough, cred for that, to use a stupid word. And so I called her and I tried to explain that and that I want her to get recognized more for that, and that my three older brothers were all gone when the divorce happened, so they weren't as around for the ramifications of it and everything. But my sister and I, the younger siblings, have seen how it's affected my mom more. And I tried to explain that I just I'm so grateful for everything that she's done, and that despite the fact that I'd probably even have more fun with her and not have to be around meat eating, I was going to maintain the apolitical decision and go with my dad. It was a very, it was a hard thing to decide. I'm still not sure it was right, but she understood, and we had a really constructive talk about it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. May I ask how long ago the divorce happened?
About 9 or 10 years ago.
Okay.
A little while ago.
And it is impossible for both of the parents to be in one location.
Yeah, mostly because of my dad.
Talk a little bit about your dad.
My dad is an excellent father, a very smart and responsible.
Yeah, but talk a little bit.
He's kind of, despite his best efforts, not super emotionally literate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A little bit, but I would love an example.
Well, my mom is just whenever I bring an issue to her, it'll be all compassion, all understanding, all oh, I'm so sorry. Even if I fucked it up, It'll be I'm so sorry, Jason, and I'm with you, and I feel what you're feeling. And my dad will be just all practical, suggestions and stuff like that, which is sort of he's a lawyer. He's an employment and gosh, his job, he worked for a big fancy corporation, and his job was to represent the company when employees accused or whatever, like discrimination based on their firing or hiring, etc. So, you know, that's sort of crummy.
Just to sorry.
Here we go. I'll be out back to the show.
We have a group hug at the end of the show. Aim it all at this guy.
I needed a hand. I raised my hand.
Thank you so much for coming on. Just one last question. What does your mom do, if that's what your dad
My
does?
mom is the bomb. She runs a non-profit in Los Angeles that teaches low-income kids gardening, education, and nutrition.
How do they meet? Jason!
Dracula! Hi, I made you my vegan lasagna.
Oh, my little lasagna,
Yes.
little lasagna.
On the street that I taught how to grow everything organically. They helped and we put it all together for you.
What a spread, right?
Yeah.
Blood. Come closer. This is all fit to eat, yes?
Yeah, the lasagna, not the children of the block.
Okay, I was hoping that this lasagna had the children of the block in it already.
Yeah, I can't remember how we met, but I love you.
Tinder.
We cut to that first date.
I've never swiped before. I'm gonna be a little bit even more honest with you. I didn't even watch SpongeBob, and it's like swipe or stop swiping. That's how much I don't swipe.
I've never seen SpongeBob. Oh my god.
Nope, never.
Are you enjoying the cider? The apple cider, sparkling apple cider?
Yes, it's so red and delicious. I have a special nutrient.
Yeah, I was just really glad it wasn't in mine.
It is.
Tinder.
They're colorless now. I have a whole laboratory devoted to blood. I hope that's not a problem.
No, I mean, I'm sure you're doing research, right? Helping people with platelets or something, right?
My platelet research is, unbeknownst to most people, the best in the country. And your capillaries are very healthy. Girl, you are going to have to let him drink some of your blood. Are you okay with that?
He loves me, right? So he must be good.
Haven't you seen Twilight? You gotta give him a little bit of blood and then you gotta pull it back, We want more. You know what I mean?
Is that an astronomy club?
No, girl! So like I was saying, your capillaries are so beautiful. What do you think about mine? I know my arms are a little hairy, but I do have very nice veins.
Well, I wasn't the best biology student, so don't judge me. I got an A-.
Yes, don't be afraid to get up close and
It's very lovely. It's very lovely skin. Do you moisturize? Is it to oil will away?
Yes.
My mom always says oil will away.
Girl! I have a girl. Girl, let him have some of your blood.
Sweetheart, I love you. I need to know that the hostages, our children that you had since Christmas, will get out of here by New Year's. So I brought in a negotiator to help us work this out. We've got to let the hostages go.
Ready to talk?
That's the most communication I've heard from her in 20 hours.
Well, please allow me.
Yes.
I'm good at talking to people. I used to be a licensed therapist.
What was that?
I got the kids and I'm keeping them.
Oh man. You know I got kids? Is all about like becoming like a clown goth. Like I never even heard about clown goth shit before. And it's like I'm just trying to connect with you, but if you're making up shit to obsess over, I mean
Data turns tonight.
Anyway, that's how I lost my virginity.
Okay, kids, let's get in here. You know, some people grow up with parents who aren't very nice to them. Yeah, that's right.
What?
So I want y'all to just check your privilege real quick. You have nice parents, okay? Question? Yes?
Where's my privilege?
I want you to check it at the door. Leave it at the door, because in here, we are not privileged. Okay? We're going to acknowledge that there are people out there who are less fortunate than us and who whose parents don't support them doing art, you know?
We're lower level specimens of materialism.
Someone's got parents who let them read the dictionary.
Dad, I went over to Timmy's house, and his parents didn't yell at us about how great they were for half an hour every morning. And they didn't tell me how fortunate I was just to be in their presence like you do all the time.
Yeah, and how did that feel?
It was actually kind of nice.
That's why I do it, okay?
No!
When you go out in the world, it's not going to be like this.
He didn't mean it was nice when you yell at him. He meant it was nice when the other people didn't yell at him.
Oh, I understood.
All right. Brad Lambier. Just you and this free throw shot.
All right, Brad. Just play that oboe solo. Because there's only one Brad.
Okay, Brad. Lead this council of Brad meetings.
Your father and I are getting a divorce. You a bit goth?
Clowny, because like,
We don't like either one of those. We wrote an article about both of them. And they don't turn out well.
yeah. Also, we found the whipped cream under your bed. We know you've been pieing.
All right, everybody, just wanted to thank you for being part of the cast. We've had an amazing 5-year run of a man on a subway. I think we'd all be real grateful if you could let us in on
My
some of
signature
that
song?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah! No! What? Yeah! Get it going!
Walter, this is the first thing you've taken me to in 3 years, and it's this piece of garbage?
Mom! Dad, be quiet!
Thank you.